had people in there. That's where Osama bin Laden was hiding, whether or not they knew. But she says they didn't need to be in the travel ban, though, because we know enough about the people who want to come from those countries to the United States. How can that be?
Well, because I think there's some policymaking apply. I think if Nikki Haley had it to do all over again, if you had a President Nikki Haley, which maybe you will have a candidate Nikki Haley at some point, but if you had a President Nikki Haley, my guess is you wouldn't have the travel ban. It was certainly ill-conceived as the way it was originally written. It seemed to be somewhat slapdash, an attempt to make a very quick campaign promise fulfilled. The work primarily we know of Steve Bannon and Steve Miller, one of whom is not at the White House any longer. So I give Trump credit in that this process did take a while. He did change position from the campaign and from what he had said previously when presented with more and better information. But that's the anomaly thus far in his presidency. The way in which the travel ban was both written and then executed is more the rule, which is much more herky-jerky, much less thought about impact. And so I think that's why you see the policy confusion, because one policy was created sort of in a week or two out of whole cloth to make good on a campaign promise. The other one was 7 months plus in the making. There's a difference when you actually spend time, engage with the issues, talk to the relevant people who tell you this can work and this can't work. Now, oftentimes, by the way, those policy solutions are less than thrilling to any one side, and I think that's what you're getting out of Afghanistan.
So, David Gregory, you've often talked about sort of the split screen that we see with the president, teleprompter President Trump, where he sticks to the speechwriter's words and to his message, and then there's rally Trump, or even press conference President Trump, as we saw when he was trying to explain his reaction to Charlottesville. So last night, after the president's speech, we had House Speaker Paul Ryan as part of a CNN town hall, and he said for the first time in his strongest language yet that he thinks that the president really messed up during that press conference about the Charlottesville reaction. Here is Paul Ryan.
So I do believe that he messed up in his comments on Tuesday when it sounded like a moral equivocation, or at the very least moral ambiguity, when we need extreme moral clarity. Let me just back up for a second and make one or two other points. It should not be about the president. This is not about Republicans or Democrats. This shouldn't be about some vote in Congress or some partisan issue. This is so much more important than that.
So we're happy, obviously, that the speaker was part of the town hall, but, you know, it did take him a long time to come out and criticize the president.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, where were those words? Where was that public stand right as this was happening? In the heat of the moment, that's what leadership required of Paul Ryan, who I think is a strong leader and a very principled person, as I've known him and covered him over the years. I continue to be surprised by Speaker Ryan and his relationship with President Trump and his reluctance to speak out for the values I believe he stands for as a politician and as a person. But he is making a choice, and I suspect some of that has to do with the responsibility he feels to House Republicans and to maintaining political control of the House. And I think it's also policy-based. I think that for all of the chaos around the Trump presidency, the one person who has had a very disciplined and laser beam focus on the agenda is Paul Ryan. And I think he thinks that even health care that slipped through his fingers, that tax reform is still possible.
All right, panel, thank you all very much for all of the insights. We appreciate it. We do need to get to breaking news right now, though. So divers have found remains in the search for 10 Navy sailors who went missing after their warship collided with an oil tanker in the Pacific. CNN's Matt Rivers is live in Singapore for us with all of the breaking details. What have you learned?
Allison, we just returned from a press conference with the commander of the Pacific Fleet for the U.S. Navy, Admiral Scott Swift, and he confirmed that this accident is now a deadly accident. Remains have been found. Let's show you what he said just moments ago.
The U.S. Navy and Marine Corps divers joined a search today, assessing sealed compartments and damaged parts of the ship. The divers were able to locate some remains in those sealed compartments during their search today. Additionally, the Malaysian Navy has reported that they have located potential remains. They are working to confirm and identify those remains.
And so what the Admiral would not say, though, is exactly how many of those 10 missing U.S. sailors have been recovered so far. He said that this is now a recovery operation. It is not a rescue operation, and that is the priority, trying to get to those other remains, those remains found inside some of the sealed compartments of that ship that was damaged early Monday morning here, local time in Singapore. That remains the priority, but of course there were questions about what caused this all in the first place. The Admiral would not speculate. He said, though, there will be a long review by the U.S. Navy to figure out exactly what's going on here.
But the simple truth is that recovery like this is hard. Those ships are big, the compartments are flooded, the searching is difficult, and it takes time. Matt, stay on it. Thank you very much. President Trump says U.S. troops will fight to win in Afghanistan, but he didn't lay out a clear strategy or timeline. So what does that mean? We have a Republican congressman and retired Navy SEAL joining us next.
It's time for the biggest sale of the year with the new Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed. It senses your every move and automatically adjusts on both sides to keep you effortlessly comfortable. And snoring? Does your bed do that? The new 360 Smart Bed is part of our biggest sale of the year, where all beds are on sale. And right now, save 50% on the Labor Day limited edition bed plus free home delivery and Saturday.
Duncan just protected his family with a $500,000 life insurance policy. How much do you think it cost him? $100 a month? $75? $50? Actually, Duncan got his $500,000 for under $28 a month. Less than $1 a day. His secret? SelectQuote. In just minutes, a SelectQuote agent will comparison shop nearly a dozen highly rated life insurance companies and give you a choice of your 5 best rates. Duncan's wife, Cassie, got a $750,000 policy for under $21 a month. Give your family the security it needs at a price you can afford. Since 1985, SelectQuote has saved over 1 million families millions of dollars on life insurance. Call now, 800-556-0900, or visit SelectQuote.com. Discover what over 1 million families know now. We shop, you save.
The U.S. needs to develop more renewable and clean energy resources because there are limits to the amount of fossil fuels that we can burn.
Since 1925, we have depended on diesel generators, burning approximately 1 million gallons of diesel fuel a year.
We're going through an energy revolution. Our mission is to make offshore wind one of the principal new sources of energy. Not every bank is willing to get involved in a first of its kind project. The city really stepped up when we needed them. The city saw the promise of clean energy, and they worked really closely with us, financing the first offshore wind farm in the United States. The wind farm will lower power prices. We're polluting the air less. Businesses and homes can rely on a steady source of power. The Block Island Wind Farm is a catalyst. This will be the first of many offshore wind farms in the U.S.
For maximum support of muscle aches and pains, the new CopperFit Advanced Compression Energy Socks. Medium weight, full graduated compression with reinforced zoned compression in the arch and ankle. All day energizing support to help reduce painful swelling. A copper infused reinforced heel and toe and cushioned footbed for maximum support. The new Zone Compression Energy Sock from CopperFit. Live limitless. Exclusively at Dick's Sporting Goods.
You might take something for your heart, your joints, or your digestion. So why wouldn't you take something for the most important part of you, your brain? With an ingredient originally found in jellyfish, Prevagen is now the #1 selling brain health supplement in drugstores nationwide. Prevagen, a name to remember.
My original instinct was to pull out. And historically, I like following my instincts. But all my life, I've heard that decisions are much different when you sit behind the desk in the Oval Office.
Now, with President Trump reversing his stance on Afghanistan and recommitting to the war there. But the president did not give any details on troop levels or a timetable. Does his new policy amount to a blank check somehow? Joining us is Republican Congressman Scott Taylor. He's also a former Navy SEAL and Iraq War veteran. Congressman, good morning.
Morning, Allison. How are you?
I'm doing well. I know that you liked the president's speech last night. What did you hear?
Well, I certainly heard a sort of a disruption of status quo, if you will. And, you know, I represent the area that has more military and veterans than any congressional district in the nation. So if something happens in the world, our people are going, and our folks are certainly in Afghanistan, and they will be. I want to know that they're going to be able to have the rules of engagement they need, that they're not going to be micromanaged by politicians in Washington. So I did like what I heard yesterday. And he actually did say that would not be a blank check. I think that his skepticism of Afghanistan and instincts are warranted. I think there are a lot of folks in the American public, you know, that they're not happy with the nation building. They're not happy with where we are 16 years later. So for what I heard was, we're going to change the status quo. We're going to put pressure on countries in the region, and then we will reevaluate and see where we are with that. And I do want to hear that. That's something that I think that we needed to hear as a country, as well as folks that are in the military.
The president didn't give any specific troop levels, but our sources White House say that he'll be adding 4,000 troops to Afghanistan. How will that change? How will that change what's going on in Afghanistan, that level of troop build?
Well, from what I understand, I've definitely read the reporting, but from what I understand, he's already delegated that authority previously to Secretary Mattis up to 4,000. So from what I understand as well from yesterday, that it will be conditions-based, of course, that's on the ground. So what the strategy is and how that changes everything, that completely depends on conditions on the ground. As a special warfare fighter myself, you know, I like to see unconventional type things as opposed to conventional, certainly in areas like Afghanistan that are not for necessarily conventional forces. But, you know, I don't know their specific strategy, but I will leave that up to them and the conditions that are on the ground that dictate what you need to do.
I understand, but does that number make sense?
I don't think you should get. I don't think that you should get. I don't think that you should, or us should, get swept up in what the actual number is. I don't think that doesn't make sense to me as a military man. It all depends, and it's dictated by what the conditions are on the ground and where they're needed.
But 4,000, I hear you, but 4,000 feels like the right number to change the equation there?
I don't know the answer to that. I know that the commanders on the ground will know the answer to that more than me. I don't like politicians micromanaging from Washington. So as now a politician, I'm not going to try to do that from Washington.
Do you think, I hear you, about your district, I didn't know that you sent the most soldiers to fight. That's interesting. Do you think that...
Well, what I'm saying is we have the most active duty and veterans of any congressional district in the nation.
Okay.
Not the most to fight in Afghanistan.
Most active duty and veterans.
The most active duty and veterans combination in the country in terms of congressional districts, yes.
Okay, that's noteworthy. Do you think that the parents of soldiers who are obviously being sent off, do you think that they deserve more specifics than they heard last night?
I think that number one, two things. I've been very clear in terms of the AUMF, the 16-year-old authorization of use of military force. I think that Congress should have that debate. They should get input from the administration. Now we have had some. We probably need more specifics, and then we should have that debate and say that. So, but I will tell you that the folks, the parents back home, the soldiers that are fighting, their families back home, they certainly want to know that their people aren't being micromanaged on the ground by politicians in Washington. They want to know that if they're going to be there, that they have the rules of engagement and the flexibility necessary to do their job. So it's, you know, as a former military person and as someone who has friends that are still in the fight, I want to know that they have that flexibility. I want to know that they're able to get their job done. I don't need to know day to day and all the specifics that they're doing. But that being said, I do think that Congress should look at the AUMF and should vote on that with input from the administration.
Do Americans deserve to know what success will look like?
No question that Americans need to understand what the strategy is, what the potential end state is. Now, granted, war is obviously fickle and things change.
Right.
So I think that I think it would be very important for this president to continually update the American public on the progress of now that he's there. I mean, he's a third president in this war. It was obviously started previously.
Sure.
He's inherited.
But
That's the right word I'm looking for. But I think that he needs to continue to update the American people in terms of the strategy and where we are and where we're going.
Yes,
I think that's a fair thing.
Can you this morning define what success looks like?
To stop any terrorists from having a safe haven in Afghanistan, to make sure that you have stability in the region there, and that requires a lot. And I think that his statement last night allows for increased flexibility to make sure that you're denying terrorists, you're denying insurgency from destabilizing the country, and then of course it also asks for surrounding countries to be more involved. I would like to see more on Russia's. On their support of the Taliban in the north. I'd like to see more from this administration in terms of what China looks like and what their influence is there and how they play a role in stability there. So I do think that he outlined something yesterday that was a little more concrete than we've seen in the past 10 years.
I mean, it just sounds as though you have to stay for a long time. If you're never going to create a vacuum, then soldiers have to stay, indefinitely.
Is that a question?
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. It just sounds like without a timeline and without a clear benchmark, that it's hard to know when mission will be accomplished. But, I mean, look.
I think you have a fair point there, Allison.
Yeah.
I think you have a fair point there. And again, that's why I believe that it's important for this president to continually update the American people on progress, on where we are, on what the vision is, what we're looking at the same time, not giving a timeline for withdrawals. Yep. Some folks can just outweigh us, basically, and also allow for that flexibility in there for people to get the job done as needed on the ground.
Yeah. Congressman Scott Teller, thank you. We always appreciate having you on, and we certainly appreciate service.
Thank you for having me, Allison.
Yes.
The reality is we've just seen a major shift from the president. He wanted the country out of Afghanistan as a citizen and as a candidate. He campaigned on it. Now he is basically saying that we are all in and for a long time. We also saw something else in this speech. It may have been the first time that we saw the president almost admit he was wrong. This isn't the first big flip-flop we've seen from him. We're going to do some analysis of the three biggest and their motivations. Next.
I'll never find a safe used car.
Start at thenewcarfax.com.
Show me minivans with no reported accidents.
Love it.
Show me the Carfax.
Start your used car search at theallnewcarfax.com.
It's your first day on the job. Walk in like you own the place. Now at Men's Warehouse, get 3 for $99 dress shirts plus buy one, get one on select items. It's time to like the way you look.
Hi, Anthony Sullivan here for the Hurricane Spin Broom. The lightweight, easy, cordless sweeper that picks up practically everything. It weighs less than 2 pounds, and its rotating bristles clean like a street sweeper. It gobbles up everything in its path. Use it for dry food, wet food, pet hair, or tough sticky rice. It even sweeps slippery ice. So light, I can pick up a mess using my pinky. The Hurricane Spin Broom is whisper quiet. Swivels in and around furniture quick and easy, with no cords and no batteries. The secret's the triple brush technology that uses centrifugal force combined with the rotating action to sweep up everything in its path. Just push to empty in the trash, your hands never touch the mess. And the Spin Broom has a mega mouth that's big enough to pick up a ham sandwich. Look at that! The giant corner brushes clean along baseboards and toe kicks with no scuffing and no scratching. Use it on tile, wood, even vinyl. It gets into the grout lines, leaving nothing behind. And the full flat handle lets you reach and clean under furniture. Watch this. The little shards of broken glass are no match for the Spin Broom. And it's so easy to use, kids can and will use it. Plus, you can rinse it clean, and it stores practically anywhere. Vacuums are heavy, and the old way is back-breaking work. And stop chasing around the line from a dustpan and broom. Call now to get the original Hurricane Spin Broom for just $19.99. Put order right now, and you can double the offer. Plus, get our Sticky Buddy, the reusable sticky roller that picks up pet hair and lint and washes clean in seconds. Just pay a separate fee. So get your special offer Hurricane Spin Broom for just $19.99. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-406-7486 to get your hurricane spin broom. Call or visit by spinbroom.com. So call 1-800-406-7486. That's 1-800-406-7486. Deluxe version available. Order now.
The untold story of how America stopped a dangerous Cuban espionage operation.
He was the personal spy for Fidel Castro.
Declassified. Saturday night at 9 on CNN.
Eligible for Medicare? That's a good thing. But it doesn't cover everything. Only about 80% of your Part B medical expenses. The rest is up to you. So consider an AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plan, insured by United Healthcare Insurance Company. Like any of these types of plans, they could save you in out-of-pocket medical costs. Call United Healthcare Insurance Company today to request a free decision guide. With these types of plans, you'll be able to visit any doctor or hospital that accepts Medicare patients. Join the millions who have already enrolled in the only Medicare supplement insurance plans endorsed by AARP and provided by United Healthcare Insurance Company, which has over 30 years of experience behind it. Apply for a Medicare supplement insurance plan anytime you want. So don't wait. Call United Healthcare now to request your free decision guide.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
My original instinct was to pull out. And historically, I like following my instincts. But all my life, I've heard that decisions are much different when you sit behind the desk in the Oval Office.
All right, that's President Trump coming as close as he has so far to admitting a flip-flop on a key issue. We've seen several major shifts, and they matter for different reasons. Last night's speech was a new strategy in Afghanistan, basically a rejection of Trump's previous position, increasing troop levels by an undisclosed amount. Now, before last night, Trump could not say enough about how badly he wanted the U.S. out, calling any troop increase a plan hatched by, quote, very stupid leaders. Now, the top of the speech last night was also notable. It was an attempt to douse the flames that he whipped up last week, equating white supremacists with those fighting against them. Given the problems with moral agency, his thoughts about David Duke matter. Back in the day, he knew what Duke was. But once he started running, he seemed to forget.
Well, you've got David Duke just joined. Bigot, a racist, a problem. David Duke endorsed me? Okay. All right. I disavow. I don't know anything about David Duke, okay? I don't know anything about what you're even talking about with white supremacy or white supremacists.
I know who he is, but I never met David Duke.
Then there is the biggie, healthcare. Citizen Trump wrote about and talked about universal health. And candidate Trump still promised, we're going to have insurance for everybody. There was a philosophy in some circles that if you can't pay for it, you don't get it. That's not going to happen with us. Trump also said the new plan would do more and cost less. The plan he ultimately agreed to wasn't even close to that. It left 24 million people over about a decade without care, according to the CBO. White House had to backtrack for Trump calling what he said a goal and not a promise, and saying the important thing is more people would have the option of great health care. So you see some differences on major issues motivated by different things. Let's discuss with our CNN political commentators. We got Mike Shields and Anna Navarro. It's good to have you both here. Let's start with last night and what we heard at the top of the speech. Anna, what I heard was the president taking the opportunity. Yes, he was using the metaphor of the military and what kind of home they deserve to come back to. But it seemed like he was discussing what he didn't get done last week, the flames he fanned, as I suggest, of hate in this country and the most toxic kind of left versus right. Did you hear that, and did it work for you?
I heard it. I didn't hear it directly. I didn't hear it expressly. I heard a veiled reference to Charlottesville without even mentioning Charlottesville, without mentioning Heather Heyer, the woman who was killed. But he did talk about race. He did talk about the need for the nation to heal. Look, he could spend the rest of every speech he gives between now and the end of his term talking about this, And people are not going to forget the hurt and the division that he fanned that first time he came out, and then when he did it again on Tuesday. You only get one chance to make a first impression. And he made it, and he made a terrible one. And it's going to stick with a lot of us. That being said, he should take every single opportunity from now on to be inclusive, to be the uniter, to be the consoler-in-chief and the healer-in-chief. It is part of the job description of being president of the United States.
So, Mike, you know, the task is you can say the right things, but people believe them, right? And that is one of the tests that the president was taking last night. So, to your ears, what he said up at the top about what the nation needs to do to heal, do you think that that will be accepted by the American people? And to the extent that he's laid out a case for Afghanistan that's so different from what he believed for so long, you think people will accept that this is what he believes now?
Yeah, well, on the Charlottesville thing, look, I disagree. I think the president made a huge mistake in what he said the Saturday that it happened and the Tuesday when he sort of, at the transportation press conference, went off on in a different direction that was very harmful to his presidency, I believe. I think what he said on the Monday was exactly right. And I think if he continues to do that over and I don't know if people are ever going to believe him, but I think one of the ways to try to get them to believe you is to keep doing it over and over again. I think if he didn't talk about it, people would say, why is he moved on from this? I think that if he puts it in every speech, he's going to Phoenix today to do a rally, if he talks to his own base of supporters there and says some of the same things, he can begin to heal this problem for himself and for the country by never stopping talking about this. Talk about it every chance you get. I think that's important for him. In terms of the Afghanistan policy, look, the president gets criticized all the time by his critics for being stubborn or, you know, not listening to people or never admitting that he's wrong. You guys have criticized him for that before. Why won't he admit when he made a mistake? He literally, in words, said last night that he changed his mind, he made a mistake, he was wrong about something, and he's come up with a new policy. And
well, he didn't use those words, but it's certainly the closest that he's come. And Mike makes a very instructive point, Anna. Last night wasn't really the test. He read a prepared speech. It does show that he adhered to a process that our leaders should always follow, right? It was deliberative, it took time, there was back and forth, questions were asked, and an eventual assessment and conclusion was drawn, and he delivered it and he executed it last night. Good for him. Tonight's the real test. Off the prompter, in front of people who will cheer whatever he says. Will he stick to the same message that he gave at the top? Will he say anything close to, I got it wrong the first time, now I want to get it right?
Who knows? What we have seen from Trump time and again is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We don't know which one's going to show up tonight. What we have seen consistently is that the Trump that shows up in front of rallies in front of the base, is very different than from the guy that reads from the teleprompter. There needs to be some consistency from this president. It is disconcerting for so many Americans. And I think tonight in Phoenix is a unique opportunity. This is a rally that's controversial. The mayor of Phoenix asked him to cancel it, asked him not to show up because he was afraid of what would ensue. This is a unique opportunity in a swing state where immigration, where racism, where racial profiling has been such an issue, for him to be a uniter if he wants to. But he cannot expect people to believe a word that comes out of his mouth if he can only say it when he's reading it off a teleprompter, and yet when he's speaking from the heart, off the cuff, he screws it up royally, and what he does is throw a bone to racists and to bigots and try to equate the wrong side with the right side. That will not pass muster. So if he thinks that by doing a teleprompter, fairly presidential speech last night, and then going today and giving red meat to the base and doing the contrary, it's going to pass muster and he's going to be good with both sides? No, he's actually, I think, going to lose with both.
Mike, Anna, appreciate it from both of you. And, you know, the three most loaded words in politics, we will see tonight what kind of speech he gives and what his message is to the American people. Thanks for making us better here this week. All right, Allison, to you.
Okay, Chris, more NFL players are making a statement during the national anthem, but this protest was different. Boy Wire has the Bleacher Report next.
Lo mío no fue una película, fue una historia real. Soy Elian González. Tal vez me recuerda, tal vez no.
Alien's mother is believed to have drowned.
What about your son?
The boy's father demanding the child be returned.
Should be reunited with his father.
The crowd here very angry over the Elian Gonzalez situation.
Give me the effing kid. Elian, Thursday on CNN. Presented by Volkswagen.
Hi, Phil Swift here. This storm season, get the entire family of Flex Seal products. Flex Seal creates a super strong barrier that seals out the elements. It's liquid rubber in a can. And with Flex Seal liquid, you can crush, roll, dip, or pour. With Flex Shot, you can caulk, bond, and seal virtually everything. Flex Tape is the super strong waterproof tape that can patch, bond, seal, and repair. Make the Flex Seal family part of your storm preparation kit.
If you just sign that first
I'm
one
so
there.
sorry. I don't feel comfortable signing that.
I don't get the math here.
Was this the same car we talked about?
What's this dealer preparation thing?
I'm so sorry. This just is not.
What we talked about.
Get the car without the car salesman. Carvana.com, the better way to buy a car.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. Many people with Medicare may be able to get extra benefits and don't even know they're available. You may be able to get dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage included in your plan. The Medicare Coverage Helpline is accepting calls to see if you're eligible to enroll now. You may be able to get extra benefits including dental, vision, and prescription drug coverage.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jason Buchwald. Making sure you go to the doctor, taking all your medications as prescribed, and help protect your health. Make it easier, you may now be able to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan. It includes coverage for dental, vision, and prescription drugs. Help protect your health by choosing the right plan for you. Get all the benefits you deserve.
Call to see if you may be able to get extra benefits, including dental, vision, and prescription coverage. Don't delay. Call to see if you're eligible to enroll and may be able to get extra benefits now. Call 800-779-8200. That's 800-779-8200.
He is the Twitter president. He rose to power 140 characters at a time. But could his tweets backfire on his presidency?
I think if Donald Trump implodes, it'll be because of Twitter.
Twitter and Trump, Friday night at 9.
Spectrum does internet right, delivering faster download speeds and more consistent performance than anyone else. Plus, there are no modem fees, data caps, or speed throttling. We're confident in our service, so there are no contracts either. In fact, Spectrum even has the fastest starting speeds for the price, which means you're getting the value you deserve. Spectrum Internet. Get the speed you expect and the bandwidth you need.
Get ready for tailgating season during Camping World's Touchdown Tailgate event. Now through August 31st. This month only, find the lowest prices on hundreds of RVs, with Keystone travel trailers starting at under $15,000 or $128 a month, and new 2017 motorhomes starting at $484 a month. Enjoy a hot dog lunch every Saturday during the event from 11 to 2. Plus, receive a tailgate experience package with any RV purchase. Don't wait. This offer won't last long. The Touchdown Tailgate event ends August 31st, only at Camping World in Richmond.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
All right, you had a dozen Cleveland Brown players taking a knee during the national anthem before their preseason game against the New York Giants. Coy Wire has the Bleacher Report. What was this about?
Well, Chris, 12 is the largest number of players kneeling during the national anthem on one team that we have seen until this point, so that's significant. Also significant, Seahawks' Michael Bennett, who sat during his first two preseason games, said last week that it would take a white player joining protests to really see change. Well, last night, Cleveland's Seth DeValve being the first white player to take a knee during the anthem since these types of protests started last year. His wife, Erica, is African-American, and Seth says that the tragedy in Charlottesville was a big factor in his decision.
We wanted to draw attention to the fact that there's things in this country that still need to change. And I myself will be raising children that don't look like me. And I want to do my part as well to do everything I can to raise them in a better environment than we have right now.
All right, let's get to your feel-good from the sports world today. Venezuela celebrating a game-winning hit in the final inning of the Little League World Series action last night. They're playing the Dominican Republic. Well, on the other side of victory is defeat. Nobody took it harder than pitcher Edward Uceta. He'd been the star for his team until this point. He gave up the winning hit, but the coaches from the opposing team rushing to console him, and these young opponents, the 11 to 13-year-old boys from Venezuela, Allison, giving us all a lesson in humility and sportsmanship and being there for someone in a time of need.
That is so touching, boy. That is some sweet video right there of them hugging him and everything. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so President Trump's entire White House Arts and Humanities Council resigning in the wake of the president's response to Charlottesville. Actor Cal Penn was one of them. He joins us next.
It's time for the biggest sale of the year with the new Sleep Number 360 smart bed. It senses your every move and automatically adjusts on both sides to keep you effortlessly comfortable. And snoring? Does your bed do that? The new 360 smart bed is part of our biggest sale of the year where all beds are on sale. And right now, save 50% on the Labor Day limited edition bed plus free home delivery and Saturday.
Huh. Can't find my debit card. Oh, no. Oh, it's fine. Yeah, totally, it's fine. But, like, is it fine, though? I would maybe be really worried. Do you want me to go back and look for it? I will. I mean, a lot of bad things can happen. You need to call the bank. I don't know how else to tell you. You need to shut that card off. What? I can turn it on and off in my Wells Fargo app. I feel better already. Good.
Is your AC busted, computer crash, appliance broken? Then you need ARW, American Residential Warranty.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
Home appliance repairs and replacement can cause stress and cost you over $3,000 per year. But starting at less than $1 a day, ARW has home warranty plans that cover household appliances, systems, and electronics. Parts and labor included.
When I needed ARW, they were there. My oven actually took a dive in the middle of making a big dinner for family and friends, picked up the phone, called ARW, they repaired it, dinner saved, that easy.
My air conditioning broke on a Sunday. It was so hot, I called ARW and they came out and fixed it right away.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, even pools and spas, and so much more. All you have to do is call or go to getahomeplan.com. Plus, ARW's partnered with Assurant to offer protection for all your new and used household electronics for just one low price.
I dropped my laptop and ARW replaced it with a brand new one, and all I paid was a small service fee.
All plans are fully customizable and come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call now and get a home security system valued at $1,250 free with any plan. And you can trust ARW to be there when you need them. Just call ARW and a licensed technician will be dispatched to your home. All covered repairs are guaranteed.
My refrigerator broke, and not only did ARW repair it fast, they even sent me a reimbursement check for all the food that went bad.
So come on, relax. Stop worrying about unexpected breakdowns and costly repairs. Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
Call 1-800-918-1457. Again, that's 1-800-918-1457 or log on to getahomeplan.com today.
You work hard for your family, but do you have enough life insurance for financial obligations like tuition, mortgage, auto loans, and credit card? With term life insurance from AIG Direct, you can guarantee your loved ones up to $750,000 or more of affordable protection. Family means everything. But if something happened to you today, would life insurance be there to protect your loved ones tomorrow? AIG Direct provides more protection for your money, up to 70% more coverage at no additional cost. When life moves quickly, it's difficult to find time to protect your family. With AIG Direct, you can easily apply for $250,000 of term life insurance for less than $14 per month. That's 3 times the coverage for the same price. Call now or go online to get your free no-obligation quote. Because when you take a moment to protect your future, you can enjoy a better today.
Call 1-800-728-3009 or visit AIGDirect.com.
Every single member of President Trump's Committee on the Arts and Humanities resigned in protest over the president's response to Charlottesville. Then the White House responded that President Trump was going to disband the group anyway. Actor Cal Penn didn't think that was true, so he tweeted this, LOL, Donald Trump, you can't break up with us after we broke up with you. Laugh my funny arse off. Okay, I'm cleaning it up. Cal Penn joins us now. That's a bad breakup, Cal Penn. So
it was a simple breakup.
Via Twitter. So, I mean, why did you feel the need to resign from the advisory committee?
Sure. So I think, you know, the committee was probably 2 times larger than this, and we are appointed to serve until we're replaced, so we don't term out like a lot of other boards and commissions. And so those of us who stayed on after the inauguration decided to because we felt like the work we were doing was nonpartisan, mostly in the arts education space and the cultural diplomacy space. And we work with a lot of kids. You know, we work in 18 or 19 different states in this program called Turnaround Arts that's now been moved to the Kennedy Center, by the way, and is still running very, very vibrantly. But after the president's Charlottesville response, you know, I think most of us just didn't feel that it was appropriate anymore, and we just didn't want our names associated.
There have been plenty of opportunities for you to act out if you wanted to. Why Charlottesville?
Well, we don't see this as acting out. I mean, part of it is, you know, when you choose to stay on between administrations, obviously we disagree with the Republican agenda when the president went and attacked trans service members and trying to roll back Obamacare and pulled out of Paris. And that's, I think, his right to do. He was fairly elected. Our role, I think we felt, was to focus on arts education, cultural diplomacy. But once and we are cultural advisors by mandate we were on the President's Committee on the Arts and Humanities. So, so this is very much a cultural issue, right? I think the response to Charlottesville is, his response was the worst of who we are. And we just felt like that was not who we are at all. And we're better than that. And it was an opportunity to show that.
So Cal, what had you been planning to do on this commission that now you won't be doing?
So there are a few things. One, the cultural diplomacy piece in general. We were had an opportunity to go to Cuba as the first ever U.S. government arts and culture delegation. A lot of that work obviously may have stopped anyway, given the president's stance on Cuba. But I think one of the bigger pivotal portions is economic progress and arts education. Those are sort of 2 buckets. A lot of people forget about the role of the arts in economic development, and particularly Democrat or Republican. If you have presidents who are pushing things like STEM and innovation, the difference between engineering and innovation is often a vibrant arts education program. And so absent that, we may not be able to compete as strongly against countries like India and China who are investing in all these spaces. So that's one thing that we hope certainly the White House would continue the way that previous administrations had. And then the arts education piece, this Turnaround Arts program had actually been moved slowly before we had all resigned over to the Kennedy Center. So that is still very, very vibrant.
Let me ask you something. Here's the tension. You don't like what he said. It doesn't represent what you think matters, so you step away. There's another side to it, which is stick in there, brother, because if you're there to fight the good fight, this is your opportunity. This is as close to the seat of power as you can get, and you make the case that, well, okay, you don't agree, exert that influence, create a different message, have a different projection of that come out of this administration. Now you can.
Sure, I understand how that could be something that you see, but I view it the other way, which is this is largely a dysfunctional government, period. And you have a White House that has gone into federal agencies and essentially put in a freeze, right? So they're wasting taxpayer dollars. The agencies are not often allowed to do anything at all. We had these vibrant programs, like I mentioned with the Turnaround Arts program, where you could actually push it to an outside entity like the Kennedy Center and continue it. And we felt like this was a point where an opportunity to resign en masse would send a stronger message about who I think the majority of Americans really are, the love that we have for each other, the opportunity to move the country forward in ways that a lot of folks are doing outside of government. And that if government is so dysfunctional and you can't get anything done, what if we focus on things outside of government to actually do things together? And especially, look, you're dealing with a tiny-fingered vulgarian who loves to tweet crazy things as his way of getting policy done. Come on, we're better than that.
Spy magazine reference I heard there. Well played. Cal, the Washington Post saw this as sort of a watershed moment. And so they had this article where they said, 7 months into President Trump's reign, the elites are striking back. From Wall Street to West Palm Beach and West Hollywood, the past week has been a turning point, perhaps even a tipping point. The growing number of groups canceling galas, stars boycotting ceremonies, and chief executives resigning from advisory boards is further isolating Trump. Is that how you see it? Are the elite striking back?
I can't speak for other boards and commissions, obviously. I think in our case, the majority of our members work in the nonprofit art space. I understand that because I work in the commercial art space, you know, interviews like this are oftentimes something that people want. But honestly, the majority of our folks work in the nonprofit art space. They work with children. They work with community development organizations. These are the folks who are really worried and wanting to do or continue to do the really good work that they've been doing before. So for us, a lot of it was just a reflection on how can we best continue to serve these communities? Is it going to be inside a committee like this or on the outside? And for us, the answer was very clear, particularly after Charlottesville, that was going to be on the outside.
All right, Cal, appreciate you coming on to discuss this with us, and we look forward to getting good work done on the outside. Let us know how it goes.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good morning.
Pretty controversial. You know, I mean, there are two different sides to it, but that's the side they took.
Absolutely.
All right. How about we have a little good stuff when we come back? I got a great story for you. Stay with CNN.
Day 13. If only this were as easy as saving $600 when you switch to Progressive. Winds stirring, too treacherous for a selfie. Sure, I've taken discounts to new heights with safe driver and paperless billing, but the price at the top is worth every last breath. Here we go. Got him. Wait a minute. Whole wheat waffles?
These are the ones. Sorry.
Don't worry about it.
Honey.
At our house, we need things that are built to last. That's why we got a Subaru.
Love, it's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
Get 0% APR financing for 63 months on all new 2017 Legacies. Ends August 31st.
This school year, it's okay to stumble, to struggle, to want to give up, but not to give in, to be scared, but not scared away, or hit the wrong note, and keep playing. You're learning resilience, tenacity, lessons you can't put a letter grade on, lessons I'm learning too.
Here's to the moms who show their kids that every step, even a misstep, is a step forward.
And from the ocean waters off the coast of Florida tonight,
Alien's mother is believed to have drowned.
6 years old is too young to speak for themselves.
Why has this become so political?
Well, of course, I'd rather grow up in the United States.
The Cuban-American National Foundation versus the Castro brothers.
The crowd here very angry over the Elian Gonzalez situation.
This was spinning out of control.
God, America, what did you do this for?
CNN Films presents Elian, Thursday on CNN.
Attention, if you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down this year by sending out heart-stopping letters, aggressively garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, the #1 tax resolution firm. They are experts in the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands, even tens of thousands. Optima's resolved over $500 million of tax debt for their clients. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and will fight to get you the best deal possible. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 1-800-908-8996. That's 1-800-908-8996.
CNN Special Report, Twitter and Trump, Friday night at 9. Life happens everywhere, like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and ServPro.com.
When heartburn hits, fight back fast with Tums Chewy Bites. Fast relief in every bite, crunchy outside, chewy inside. Tums Chewy Bites.
The good stuff, brought to you by Tums. Fights heartburn fast. And by ServPro. When fire or water damage threatens your home or business, make the call to the cleanup specialists at 1-800-ServPro.
All right, here's a good stuff. Indiana man races to save a woman's life. Take a look at this picture. The car is engulfed in flames. I hit a down power line or something like that. By luck, Russ Jones rolls up before the fire broke out.
I said, "You okay?" She said, "I'm hurt." And I said, "Well, you're going to have to get back here. We're going to have to get you out. The car's starting to burn."
Russ gets the woman out of the car, and just minutes later, it bursts into flames. Now, what would you do? A lot of people wouldn't even stop, let alone approach a situation like that. Firefighters say this man is nothing short of a hero.
Oh, my gosh, I love Russ Jones, angel on Earth. All right, speaking of other earthly delights, the first total solar eclipse over America, leaving millions in awe and sparking some wacky moments. CNN's Jeannie Mose sheds light on the eclipse oddities.
Silly glasses, who cares? Everyone from Superman to President Trump donned them.
There it is! It is incredibly dark. It's very eerie. It's a spooky experience.
I may be speechless.
I see a shadow covering the Earth. It was the blanket news coverage of the eclipse.
Totality now arriving.
So happy I could cry.
I'm a little breathless.
That was our 2 minutes of ecstasy.
Coverage ranged from the couple that found ecstasy getting married during the eclipse.
Two hearts aligned today.
To the Washington Post live streaming the eclipse's effect on fainting goats. Scared, they sometimes do this, but during the eclipse,
They almost just didn't move.
Bonnie Tyler sang her signature song on an eclipse cruise.
Total eclipse of the heart.
Can you stare into a total eclipse of the heart without glasses?
Look into my heart. I wear it on my sleeve.
People sure were scared into wearing those glasses.
You're not supposed to stare right at the sun unless you hate your eyes.
That's concentrated energy that can not only burn your glasses, it can also burn your eye.
When it was over, The Guardian pranked readers with a How to Tell If You Damaged Your Eyes article that was intentionally blurry. Outside the path of totality, that's it though, the 71% eclipse in New York City was underwhelming.
I think it's cooler to watch the people watching it.
Especially people using oddball boxes.
You still see it?
Yeah. Does it work better if it's organic?
I think it does.
And though the president's glasses worked, that didn't stop him from glancing up without them, landing him on the cover of the New York Daily News. This newborn was named Eclipse. Others were dressed in Eclipse outfits. And NASA released a photo of the International Space Station silhouetted against the sun, which was, of course, then photoshopped from Chris Christie to E.T. During the last solar eclipse over North America in 1979, a network anchor spoke of the next one.
That's 38 years from now. May the shadow of the moon fall on a world at peace.
There was no peace, even from cars this time around.
Can you hear the car alarm? Apparently the car is excited about the eclipse as well.
Jeannie Mose, CNN, New York.
All right, so you stared at the sun and won.
I did. Are your kids out of the bomb shelter? Are they there?
It was so underwhelming. I guess they could have left the house yesterday afternoon at some point.
Allison said, I'm going to keep my kids inside.
Yeah, like their mom.
JB was out there staring up at the sun like a man.
Well, my only mistake was I wore 15 in my eyes, and it turns out that wasn't the way to go. You needed at least SPF 30. All right.
But John,
Chris,
that was a great
yes.
moment with Bonnie Tyler, where you were at the concert with the lighter.
One of your favorite songs, too. I've heard you sing it many times.
It was an important moment. Thank you all for sharing it with me and with the country. Chris, Allison, have a great day. We got a lot of news. Let's get to it. All right, good morning, everyone. John Berman here. The president's speech in Afghanistan was either a clear display of leadership, a complete flip-flop, a bold new strategy, the same old strategy, or maybe not even a strategy. It has been called all of those things by friends and foes, sometimes both. What everyone can agree on is the scripted speech might just be a preview for what could be an unscripted, controversial political rally in Arizona tonight. With the nation still raw over the response to the displays of hate in Charlottesville, what could possibly go wrong? More on that in just a moment. First, the nation's longest war getting still longer. The president revealed his plans while revealing few details.
We will not talk about numbers of troops or our plans for further
military activities. Conditions on the ground, not arbitrary timetables, will guide our strategy from now on.
All right, a big day for the administration. We have CNN's Ryan Brown at the Pentagon, Athena Jones at the White House. Ryan, first to you, what the White House is calling a new Afghan strategy. The details, please.
Well, John, the details are still a little bit sparse at this moment. Now, some of the broader outlines were made clear. One, no timeline. That's very much a big departure from the Obama administration. When President Obama announced his surge of troops, there was a very strict timetable attached to that. Some critics said that encouraged the Taliban to wait it out. President Trump making it clear that there will be no timetables attached to this strategy. Another element of this will be kind of removing some of the restrictions on targeting that had been put during the late period of the Obama administration, allowing the military to target ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Taliban elements in Afghanistan. Additional trainers, perhaps. We don't know the number, but we believe that some additional trainers will be sent to Afghanistan to help train local Afghan troops. And all of this kind of also working to put pressure on Pakistan. The no timetable element, they think, will potentially pressure Pakistan, something the military has long sought, kind of curb some of these Al-Qaeda and Taliban safe havens in that border area, the Haqqani network mostly. So again, these are some of the broader elements of the strategy that were outlined yesterday, last night. President Trump kind of, listening to his military commanders. A lot of these recommendations have been sought for the military at some time, and it differed a lot from what candidate and citizen Trump had talked about when he talked about Afghanistan, and he acknowledged this change of heart as much in his speech last night.
My original instinct was to pull out, and historically, I like following my instincts. But all my life, I've heard that decisions are much different when you sit behind the desk in the Oval Office. In other words, when you're President of the United States. However, our commitment is not unlimited, and our support is not a blank check.
So President Trump clearly listening to Secretary Mattis, H.R. McMaster, and his other military advisors with regards to Afghanistan, giving them the chance to pursue a more engaged strategy in the months and years ahead. John?
All right, Ryan Brown for us at the Pentagon. Thanks so much. Later this morning, the president travels to Arizona for a political rally. The big question, can the president extend his streak of political discipline to 2 whole days? Athena Jones at the White House. Athena, obviously, the president's been sort of stirring that Arizona pot hard for a while.
Hi, John. He has. If past is prologue, we're unlikely to see that scripted version of President Trump that we saw last night. He's likely to return to his usual characteristic, unscripted, freewheeling, combative style at this rally. We know he loves these rallies before his supporters. One question is whether we'll hear any of the kinds of lines we heard at the beginning of that speech last night where he was focused on unity. But as you mentioned, it's not surprising to see Democrats like members of Congress or Phoenix's Democratic mayor criticize the president for deciding to hold a campaign rally they worry will be divisive. What's more interesting is that Arizona's Republican governor is also skipping tonight's rally. He is going to greet the president on the tarmac when he arrives in Arizona, but he won't be there tonight. And this is also a time when the president has some frosty relations with the state's 2 Republican senators, Jeff Flake and John McCain. This is what the president tweeted about Jeff Flake just last week. He said, "Great to see that Dr. Kelly Ward is running against Jeff Flake, who is weak on borders, crime, and a non-factor in the Senate. He's toxic." And also at that now infamous press conference at Trump Tower, the president had some choice words for Senator McCain as well. Listen.
Senator McCain? Senator McCain, you mean the one who voted against Obamacare?
And he said
Who is Senator? You mean Senator McCain who voted against us getting good health care?
Those senators are skipping tonight's rally. One big question is, will the president officially endorse Flake's conservative challenger, Dr. Kelly Ward, at this rally? And also, will he pardon Sheriff Joe Arpaio, the former sheriff who has been convicted of contempt for ignoring an order to stop detaining people on mere suspicion of being undocumented immigrants? John?
All right, Athena Jones for us at the White House. Athena, thanks so much. Joining me now to talk Afghanistan, Colonel Steve Warren, CNN military analyst, former spokesman for the anti-ISIS coalition in Iraq, and Julia Kayyem, CNN national security analyst and former assistant secretary at the Department of Homeland Security. Colonel, I want to start with you. There was a speech last night. The president spoke to the nation about Afghanistan, laying out his strategy. The question is this morning, what is actually different? What has changed now in terms of U.S. strategy?
Yeah, that's exactly the right question to ask. The speech itself, I thought, was a well-written and fairly well-delivered speech that hit all of the high points. The real question is what's changed in the strategy. And the really only notable adjustment to the strategy is this pledge to shift away from a time-based strategy to a conditions-based. The rest of it really is a lot of the strategy that we had been working out of the Department of Defense for the last several years. Maybe with some of the rougher edges filed off, kind of these points that the Department of Defense and the generals didn't appreciate very much. For example, the ability to flow troops in and out without having to ask permission, the ability to have additional authorities to strike terrorists and other targets throughout Afghanistan. So these are kind of, I think, small incremental change. But the overall fundamentals of the strategy, from where I sit, appear to remain largely unchanged.
No, you're adding, what, 4,000 troops, probably still doing the same types of things in the country you were doing before. But Julia Kayyem, the no timetable isn't insignificant in the sense that we've heard for the last several years that the Taliban, the bad actors inside Afghanistan, they always knew when the U.S. was getting out because President Obama kept on telling them when the U.S. was getting out. So from their point of view, all they had to do was wait.
Yeah, I think, lifting a timetable matters symbolically, but the problem with at least the speech is it didn't sort of lay out what the conditions would be for our own military about when we'd be willing to say, okay, we're willing to leave Afghanistan at this stage. In other words, the conditions are just not known at this stage. And what's important to remember for everyone is the Taliban is going to outlast us. They outlasted, the Afghans outlast the Russians, are going to outlast the United States. So what's our primary interest? Of course, it's a counterterrorism effort with al-Qaeda and any growth of ISIS, and supporting to the extent we can a functioning government in Afghanistan. And that is it. We're not going to rebuild that nation, and we're not going to outlast the Afghanis. So what are the conditions that would make us more willing to leave? I have to say the speech left those conditions, I think, unknown at this stage.
Though, if you listen to the president, he claimed that he did define what those conditions would be. He had this line defining victory. Let's listen.
From now on, victory will have a clear definition. Attacking our enemies, obliterating ISIS, crushing al-Qaeda, preventing the Taliban from taking over Afghanistan, and stopping mass terror attacks against America before they emerge.
So, Colonel Warren, it's interesting. The foreign editor at Breitbart, Rodham Kassam, in source here, there's a political element to this, which we'll talk about later in the show. But Breitbart notes in those definitions of victory, there are no real measurables, which is something you and the military care about a great deal. Do you agree, Colonel, with that assessment?
Yeah, very difficult to measure those definitions of victory. And in fact, some of those definitions sounded more like actions, completed tasks. And I think it's notable that this could open the door to an essentially endless occupation. Taliban continues to exist if they're not brought to the table, if a regional solution that incorporates Pakistan, India, China, and even Russia and Iran into a total solution, if we can't get to that spot, we'll have American service members in Afghanistan for the foreseeable future.
Quickly, Juliet, 30 seconds left. New attitudes towards Pakistan. Pakistan, a difficult relationship over several administrations.
That's right. I mean, a much tougher stance against Pakistan and sort of calling them out to the extent that that matters. We've called them out privately. And I think that was a significant shift, at least verbally, by the Trump administration. But while we're talking about a shift in Afghanistan, it is just quickly at least worth noting that in some ways the speech last night was Trump's default. I mean, if you look at our military engagement in Iraq, Syria, Libya, Somalia, Yemen, and now Afghanistan, Since January, we've increased our military presence. So while we talk about a potential shift last night or a course correction or him going back on what he said in the campaign, in many ways, what he said last night was very familiar, at least during this administration.
All right, Julia Kayyem, Colonel Steve Warren. Colonel, welcome to CNN. Great to have you here. Thank you both so much. All right, the president flips on Afghanistan, but is that already flopping with his base? We will find out tonight, maybe, when he tries to rev up supporters in this campaign-style rally in Phoenix, where Republicans are already on edge over the visit. And protesters bring the Charlottesville City Council meeting to a halt. Look at this. Protesters furious that the deadly Unite the Right rally was allowed to happen in the first place. You can hear them chanting there, "Blood on your hands."
ProPlan BrightMind Adult 7+ promotes alertness and mental sharpness in dogs 7 and older.
The difference has been incredible. She's much more aware. She wants to learn things.
Purina ProPlan BrightMind, nutrition that performs.
Hey. Pass, please.
I'm here to fix the elevator.
Nothing's wrong with the elevator.
Right.
But you want to fix it.
Right.
So who sent you?
New guy.
What new guy?
Watson.
My analysis of sensor and maintenance data indicates elevator 3 will malfunction in 2 days.
There you go.
Still need a pass.
Looking for a home service pro you know you can trust? For over 15 years, homeowners have trusted HomeAdvisor to find only the best home pros and do a thorough background check. So start every job at HomeAdvisor.
Duncan just protected his family with a $500,000 life insurance policy. How much do you think it cost him? $100 a month? $75? $50? Actually, Duncan got his $500,000 for under $28 a month. Less than $1 a day. His secret? SelectQuote. In just minutes, a SelectQuote agent will comparison shop nearly a dozen highly rated life insurance companies and give you a choice of your 5 best rates. Duncan's wife, Cassie, got a $750,000 policy for under $21 a month. Give your family the security it needs at a price you can afford. Since 1985, SelectQuote has saved over 1 million families millions of dollars on life insurance. Call now, 800-556-0900, or visit SelectQuote.com. Discover what over 1 million families know now. We shop, you save.
May I help you?
We just noticed your lawn here needed a little,
What my lawn needs is for you nitwits to get off of it, okay?
Introducing Floodlight Cam by Ring. Learn more at ring.com.
Maria is an incredible mom. When it comes to helping her daughter, shopping for groceries, unclogging the sink, setting up dentist appointments, and planning birthday parties, nobody does it better. She's also in a rock band. Look at her shred. But when it comes to mortgages, she's less confident. Fortunately for Maria, there's Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. It's simple, so she can understand the details and be sure she's getting the right mortgage. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently.
Between Soleil and myself, we've got 7 kids going back to school. So we know a little something about this time of year.
We sure do. And moms, back to school means back to you.
Now's your chance to focus on losing weight and feeling great with Nutrisystem.
Melissa and I each lost 40 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Introducing Lean 13 from Nutrisystem. Lose up to 13 pounds and 7 inches overall in your first month. Lose weight fast. Money back guaranteed.
No measuring, no counting calories.
No math, no meetings.
Improve your health. Have more energy. Order your 4-week plan now. With Lean 13, you'll get specially selected meals, plus 1 week of NutriCrush bars free, and a week of Turbo Shakes to bust belly bloat free. Call or go online in the next 2 minutes and get FedEx shipping free.
Start now and just think how amazing you'll feel when the holidays roll around.
Call or go online right now.
Call 888-993-THIN or go online right now and get Lean 13, FedEx shipping free, plus shakes and bars.
Lo mío no fue una película, fue una historia real. Tal vez me recuerda, tal vez no.
The boy's father demanding the child be returned.
Elian, Thursday on CNN.
All right, the president's big speech on strategy in Afghanistan opened with a message that really wasn't about Afghanistan, but instead the aftermath of Charlottesville. Listen to this.
A wound upon a single member of our community is a wound inflicted upon us all. When one part of America hurts, we all hurt. And when one citizen suffers an injustice, we all suffer together.
Right. Not about Afghanistan there. Joining me, CNN political analyst April Ryan, David Drucker, CNN political commentator Errol Lewis, a political anchor for Spectrum News. So if you're keeping score at home, that statement, which was really about Charlottesville, not like his first statement on Charlottesville, sort of like his statement, second one on Charlottesville, not at all like the third press conference in Trump Tower about Charlottesville. But that's where we are from last night. April Ryan, you were part of the pool. You were actually at that speech last night. So these new scripted words from the president, how much credibility do they carry given the sort of evolution of thought on the subject?
It was interesting last night being in that room at Fort Myers, and I watched the crowd, the multiracial, diverse crowd last night of soldiers as the president was beginning to deliver a speech on Afghanistan, but talked about bigotry and race and how it's not tolerated, particularly for a military that since Truman has been inclusive, one of the first federal branches to be inclusive of all races. So the president tried to do a reset last night. His words were resounding, particularly for a military that's diverse and that it could possibly be going to Afghanistan to fight for the rights of all in this nation, not just for one group. So it was a stark contrast. I did pay close attention to his words. If he continues on that tone, he may begin to fix the situation of Charlottesville. That's a big chasm right now.
Situation needs fixing. It really does. I mean, there is an open wound in this country, and we saw evidence of it in Charlottesville at this city council meeting, which was essentially shut down by people who were very angry with the response of that city. I hope we have pictures of what happened inside that meeting. We can show you right now. See, this is what happened inside Charlottesville. People chanting there as they were discussing the events. Again, all but shut down. So, Errol Lewis, you know, there is fixing that needs to be done here. The president did not help, and in some ways actually exacerbated the wounds of Charlottesville, and there's a long way back here.
Well, that's right. And to piggyback on what April said, he's going to have many more opportunities to try and fix the problems that he helped exacerbate. There are more far-right rallies that are being planned all over the country. There's an initiative that has slipped from the president and has gone into the hands of people like the business leaders who walked away from the president's councils, the religious leaders who have also resigned from another of his councils, the Evangelical Council, the military leaders who spoke out forcefully. The president is playing catch-up now because the initiative is with people like the folks you have on your screen right now. It's people in the streets, business leaders, it's religious and military leaders. The president wants to get back in this game of leading the country on this very difficult issue. He's going to have to speak up a lot more than a couple of scripted lines in one speech.
Yeah, and I don't know if we'll ever reach the people who are at this meeting, or in some ways, I think the American people who saw what they saw may not be reachable by him. I'm not so sure how much his words will carry weight with them. However, there is one constituency, and I think this may be where the comments are most directed, and that may be with those Republicans who refuse to stand up for the president over the last week and have been critical in their own sort of different ways. And one of those Republicans was on CNN overnight with Jake Tapper, House Speaker Paul Ryan. Listen to what he said about the president's response to Charlottesville.
So I do believe that he messed up in his comments on Tuesday when it sounded like a moral equivocation, or at the very least moral ambiguity, when we need extreme moral clarity.
So, David Drucker, it seems to me that if the president keeps on saying the words he said out loud last night, maybe tonight in Phoenix, who knows, it allows people like Paul Ryan, who really don't want to talk about it and only very, very softly say the president messed up. They can then say, oh, look, the president is fixing it. Just look at the new things.
Yeah, look, Republicans on Capitol Hill don't want to fight with the president. They want to accomplish legislation with the president, and September is a very big month. I think last night with the president, what we saw is what he is capable of as president. But, of course, we also saw that with his State of the Union address. His address to a joint session of Congress showed what he's capable of. But there's also the other side to the president who likes to jab, likes to fight, and seems to prefer chaos and seems to prefer mixing it up with his so-called enemies. And so I think the real telling moment of the week is going to be this evening in Phoenix, Arizona, with that political rally. And it's going to have a signature Trump crowd, going to have all of that energy that we saw at the Trump campaign rallies in 2016 and even since he's become president. And that's where he speaks off the cuff, usually. Right. That's where he improvises, and that's usually where we see the other Trump that makes it so hard for Americans who at least want to root for his success and feel good about him as president, even if they don't like him all that much. That's where we're going to see whether or not last night was just another moment, the way the joint session speech was just another moment. And that's why I think it's hard to sort of analyze what he did last night beyond the policy, which I think was very significant. And I have to say, I think it was very significant that he conceded that when he was analyzing the Afghanistan situation, going with his gut, he was wrong. And since he's become president, there are things that he has learned that has caused him to change course. For Trump to say, my gut was wrong, I've learned, for any president to do that is a pretty big deal. But I think it's not that he should be commended. I just think it's a matter of policy. It was the most important thing that happened Monday night.
But John,
happy days, fans. Hey, I want to get to one other thing here. I just want to make note of one thing before we move on to my last point. One thing is there was some criticism for the president, not just from Democrats, but some of his own base. Breitbart, we'll know now, is run by Steve Bannon, who like 3 days ago was working at the White House, essentially called the president a flip-flopper on this. You can see some of the headlines from Breitbart last night. So he's going to have to contend with this wing of his party and base. We will see how this plays out in the next few days. I do want to point out one other curiosity from the last 24 hours, though, just because everyone's talking about it. It has to do with the wife of Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, who traveled with the Treasury Secretary to Kentucky, was photographed, posted on Instagram here, coming out of the plane. In her initial Instagram post, she hashtagged like every brand that she was wearing, including, and I'm not going to say this right, the Hermes. Thank you. David Drucker, I'm impressed by you on that. But then it led to this exchange where someone criticized her, and then Louise Linton, Steve Mnuchin's wife, laughed out hardcore at the person who criticized her, saying, adorable, do you think the U.S. government paid for our honeymoon or personal travel? Have you given more to the economy than me and my husband, either as an individual earner in taxes or in self-sacrifice to your country? I'm pretty sure we paid more taxes toward our day trip than you did. April, you laughed first on this, so this is your problem to deal with right now.
Why is it my problem? Come on now, John.
This is a tough look. This is a tough look for anyone connected to the administration
First
to basically
of all,
be saying.
I looked at those hashtags: Hermes, Tom Ford, Valentino, and
all good stuff, by the way.
Very good stuff. I mean, and she had a Birkin bag. I think it's at least $10,000. So when you are a public servant, and even if you're married to a public servant, you have to remember service is about the people. And many of the people that you're serving cannot afford a Birkin bag that's at least $10,000 or a beautiful scarf by whatever designer it was. I mean, she looked beautiful. I can't take that away from her. She looked like she was coming off of a magazine cover from Vogue or Elle or Cosmo or something like that. But you have to remember, many of the people that your husband is serving can just barely make it. They're trying to make ends meet, unemployed, underemployed, or just making it. You have to be very careful how you flash your wealth, flash your status, particularly as you are serving people. I know she is the wife, but optics matter.
Well, and not just the optics, the way she responded to it, too, which doesn't help the situation.
The epitome of tone deaf. The epitome of tone deaf. Both the Instagram itself and the response. It's just not what you do.
But wait, not just tone deaf, reflecting a sneering, snarling contempt for people who don't have what she has, which is wealth and power. That is the style of this administration, and unless he reels it in, you have to assume that the president and the rest of the White House are okay with portraying themselves this way.
Errol Lewis, April Ryan, David Drucker, thank you all, and thank you to Hermes for being involved in this segment as well. All right, as President Trump announces a plan to commit more troops to Afghanistan, how much has the U.S. already spent in America's longest war? Joining us now, CNN's chief money correspondent, star of Early Start, Christine Romans. Very expensive.
It's very expensive. I always caution when stories and we talk about the cost of war, that you cannot put a financial number really on the cost of war for what it does to the country and for the people who have lost lives. So this is the tally of the line items is what I can give you. The direct cost of the war in Afghanistan since 2001, $841 billion, including future costs like accounting returning vets and their medical care. You're talking about $2 trillion. But, John, the number could even be bigger because unlike prior wars, the cost of this war, well, there were no war taxes to pay for it. In fact, there were tax cuts at the very moment. So there are number crunchers who say it will be trillions of dollars when you count the interest on the money borrowed to pay for it. You can see Afghanistan and Iraq together are about 2.5 times the cost of the Vietnam War. These other wars on the screen ended, of course. We don't see the end of Afghanistan. That is the issue here. There's no end date on this. So when you just look at 16 years, $2 trillion, 2.5 times the cost of Vietnam, to say nothing of a cost that you can't measure, which is the loss of American lives.
There's blood and treasure. That measures the treasure. As for the other,
That's right.
that is